There comes a point when pretending starts to hurt more than the truth ever could. You wake up, put on the same calm expression, and move through the day like everything's fine. You say the right things, smile at the right time, keep your voice steady even when your heart isn't. It becomes a routine, a quiet performance no one asked for, but you've learned to perfect. And the longer it goes on, the harder it becomes to remember what being real even feels like. Maybe it started with something small, a moment when you wanted to say, "I'm not okay," but you didn't want to make things heavy. So you said, "I'm fine." Then you said it again and again until it became a reflex. People began to believe it, and maybe part of you did too. Because if everyone sees you as strong, maybe you'll start to feel that way. But strength built on silence is fragile. It cracks in private, in the quiet hours when no one's watching, when the noise fades, and all that's left is the truth you've been hiding. You keep thinking you can handle it, that you just need to push through. You tell yourself that other people have it worse, that your pain doesn't matter as much. But pain doesn't care about comparison. It only wants to be heard. And the more you silence it, the louder it gets, until it begins to echo in everything you do. You're not weak for feeling tired. You're tired because you've been pretending for too long. And that's not failure, that's fatigue. It's your body and your heart asking for honesty, asking for rest. You've spent so much time being the strong one that it's become second nature. People come to you for comfort, for advice, for steadiness. They say things like, "You're always so calm," or "I wish I had your strength." And you smile, pretending you don't feel the cracks forming underneath. Because if they see the cracks, maybe they'll see the truth. That you're not as unshakable as you look. There's a kind of loneliness that comes with being the one who seems okay. Everyone assumes you're fine, so they stop asking. And you tell yourself you're fine too. Because if no one sees the pain, maybe it doesn't count. But pretending is heavy. It wears down the parts of you that still believe in rest, in softness, in asking for help. You start to forget what it feels like to speak without editing yourself first, to say, "I'm not okay today," without apologizing for it. But the truth is, you deserve to be seen, even in your exhaustion. You deserve to fall apart a little without fearing you'll lose love. One day, the pretending becomes too much. You stop mid-sentence, stop smiling, stop performing, and in that silence, something shifts. You realize the world doesn't fall apart when you stop being perfect. It just becomes real. You start to realize that pretending to be okay has a cost. It takes pieces of you every time you smile when you want to cry, every time you say "I'm fine" when your chest is heavy. Little by little, you trade authenticity for acceptance until one day you don't recognize the person you've become. You've built a version of yourself that fits into the world, but not one that feels like home. Maybe you were taught that vulnerability is dangerous, that showing pain makes people leave. But the truth is, pretending pushes them away faster. People can sense when something isn't real, even if they don't say it. They start to keep their distance because they don't know how to reach you through the wall you've built. And the wall, though meant to protect you, becomes a prison instead. It's okay to admit that you're tired of being the strong one. You don't have to hold it all together. Let your voice shake. Let your eyes well up. Let yourself be human again. Because the moment you stop pretending, you give people a chance to love the real you, the messy, uncertain, imperfect you. Strength isn't pretending you don't feel pain. Strength is having the courage to say, I'm hurting, but I'm still here. That's where healing begins. Not in perfection, but in truth. At first, honesty feels uncomfortable. You've worn the mask for so long that taking it off makes you feel exposed. You're afraid people won't understand, or worse, that they'll walk away. But slowly, something unexpected happens. The world doesn't collapse. The people who truly care don't leave. They lean in closer. They listen without trying to fix you. And for the first time in a long while, you feel seen. It's strange how healing starts with something so small. A sigh, a sentence, a moment of truth. You whisper, I'm not okay today. And it feels like a weight lifting off your chest. Not because the pain disappears, but because you've stopped carrying it alone. You learn that being real doesn't push love away. It pulls the right kind of love in. The kind that doesn't ask you to smile when you can't. The kind that doesn't make you earn your worth through strength. The kind that stays, even when you're quiet, even when you're still figuring yourself out. Pretending used to make you feel safe, but honesty makes you feel alive. And between the two, life will always choose honesty, because truth, no matter how raw, is the only place where love can grow. You begin to notice how much energy it takes to hide. Every smile, every I'm fine, every forced laugh is a small betrayal of yourself. And the more you pretend, the further you drift from the person you really are. It's like living two lives at once, the one everyone sees, and the one you keep locked inside. That quiet split between who you are and who you show is what exhausts you. But when you start choosing truth, even in small moments, everything begins to soften. You tell a friend, today's been hard. You pause before agreeing to plans you don't have the energy for. You let silence sit where you used to fill it with fake comfort. And in that space, you find something you didn't expect: peace. Peace doesn't come from being okay all the time. It comes from letting yourself feel without shame. The storm inside you doesn't destroy you. It cleans you. It clears the air, makes room for new breath, new honesty, new strength. The more you let yourself be real, the less you crave perfection. Because you start to see that love, the real kind, doesn't require performance. It just asks for presence. And sometimes, being present means saying, I'm not okay right now, but I'm trying. There's a quiet kind of bravery in showing up as you are. Not the version that has everything figured out. Not the one that always smiles. Just the real, unfiltered you. At first, it feels unnatural, almost like you're breaking a rule. You've spent so long learning to shrink your feelings, to stay pleasant, to keep the peace. But peace built on pretending isn't peace at all. It's silence, wearing a disguise. You start to realize that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the truest form of strength. It's easy to hide behind control, but it takes courage to say, I'm struggling. That kind of honesty shakes the walls around you. But it also builds bridges to yourself, to others, to something real. And once you let people see the cracks, you discover something else. The light doesn't leak out, it gets in. The moments you thought would make others pull away become the ones that make them stay. Because when you show your humanness, you give others permission to do the same. Pretending may have kept you safe, but honesty will set you free. And freedom, even if it comes with tears, feels lighter than any mask you've ever worn. You begin to understand that real strength has never been about holding everything in. It's about allowing yourself to feel and still choosing to stay. For years, you measured your worth by how well you could hide your pain. You thought composure meant control, and control meant safety. But all it did was build a cage that kept your heart from breathing. The day you stop pretending, the air feels different. You breathe deeper, slower. The world doesn't change, but the weight on your chest starts to lift. You realize that authenticity doesn't push people away. It draws the right ones closer, the ones who listen without rushing you, who don't demand explanations, who see your silence as language instead of distance. That's the kind of connection that heals. Quiet, steady, real. It doesn't fix the pain, but it makes it bearable. And in those moments, you learn that you were never meant to be unbreakable. You were meant to be honest, to be soft, to be human. The world tells you to toughen up, but healing whispers something different. You're allowed to be tender here. There's a certain peace that comes when you stop trying to meet everyone's expectations. For so long, you've shaped yourself to fit what others needed. Reliable, calm, always composed. But in doing that, you slowly drifted away from the person you were meant to be. You stopped asking yourself simple questions like, what do I need? Or what do I feel right now? And when you forget to ask those questions, you start to disappear from your own life. The truth is, you can't heal while you're performing. You can't listen to your heart when you're constantly trying to silence it. Real healing begins when you give yourself permission to exist without a filter, to say, I'm not okay, and not follow it with an apology. You don't have to justify your sadness. You don't need a reason to rest. You're allowed to stop for a while, to breathe, to grieve, to simply be. That pause is not weakness, it's wisdom, because pretending to be okay might get you through a moment, but being honest with yourself is what will get you through life. The mask served its purpose once. It kept you safe when you didn't know another way. But you're safe now. You can take it off. The first time you truly let the mask fall, it feels strange. You wait for the disappointment, for people to pull away, for the silence to sting. But instead, you find something softer. People don't always understand your pain, but they begin to understand you. And for the first time, that feels like enough. You learn that being real doesn't make you a burden. It makes you reachable. The parts of you you once hid, the tiredness, the doubt, the tears, those are the parts that remind others they're not alone either. There's a kind of quiet magic in honesty. It connects people faster than perfection ever could. When you speak your truth, you invite others to exhale theirs, and slowly, the pressure to perform starts to dissolve. You laugh for real again, not because everything's okay, but because you no longer have to pretend that it is. Healing isn't about feeling happy all the time. It's about learning to tell the truth about how you feel, without fear, without shame, without apology. That's where your power lives now, in the small, honest moments where you let yourself just be. You start to notice that honesty brings a different kind of peace. Not loud or dramatic, but steady. It settles into your bones, quiet and real. The more you practice it, the more you realize how exhausting pretending used to be. Every truth you speak feels like taking off another layer of armor you never needed. For so long, you thought people only loved the version of you that was composed, productive, and strong. But the right people, the ones who see you, don't need perfection to stay. They stay because your honesty makes them feel safe too. They don't want you to be perfect. They just want you to be present. You begin to trust that love built on truth can actually last. It's not fragile like the kind built on performance. It doesn't vanish when you have a bad day or when your smile fades. It holds you, not because you're always okay, but because you finally stopped pretending to be. And maybe that's what strength really looks like. Not hiding your pain, but allowing yourself to be seen in it and still choosing to stay open. You start to realize that honesty doesn't always feel comfortable, but it always feels clean. There's no residue after you speak your truth. No regret, no guilt, no exhaustion. Just the calm that comes from alignment, from not having to keep track of who you're pretending to be. Pretending once gave you a sense of control. It made you believe you could protect yourself from judgment, from rejection. But what it really did was keep you from being known. You were loved for your calm, your patience, your strength, but not for you. And being unseen like that hurts in a way that no one warns you about. Now, when you speak your truth, you give people the chance to know you, really know you. Some won't stay. That will sting, but it will also free you. Because anyone who needs your mask to love you was never loving you to begin with. There's relief in that kind of loss. It leaves room for something truer to find you. The kind of love that doesn't shrink when you tremble. The kind that doesn't ask you to hide the parts of yourself that still ache. You learn that the people who belong in your life will never be scared of your honesty. They'll see it as proof that you're alive. As you grow more comfortable being real, you start to see how many others are still pretending. They wear the same mask you once did, smiling wide, holding it together, saying they're fine. You can see the fatigue behind their eyes, the tremor in their laughter, and instead of judging, you understand. You know what it's like to fear that the truth will make you too heavy to love. But now, you've learned that truth doesn't push love away. It invites it in. So you begin to speak softer, listen longer, offer space instead of advice. You stop trying to fix people and start letting them be seen. Because that's what you needed all along. Not someone to solve your pain, but someone to sit beside it without flinching. You realize how powerful it is to say, "Me too." Two small words that remind someone they're not alone in their struggle. That's how healing spreads. Quietly, through honesty, through shared humanness. Pretending isolates, truth connects. And in connection, the weight you've been carrying begins to feel lighter. Not because it's gone, but because now you're not the only one holding it. You begin to understand that healing isn't a destination, it's a rhythm. Some days you'll feel strong, and others you'll collapse into quiet again. But you stop seeing that as failure. You stop judging yourself for the days when getting out of bed is the only thing you manage. Because now you know that even those days count as progress. There's a calm that comes with honesty, a deep, steady peace that doesn't depend on how well things are going. You find it in small, ordinary moments, the way sunlight touches your hands, the stillness of morning before the world wakes up, the breath you take before speaking your truth. You don't have to rush your healing anymore. You don't have to prove that you're okay again. You can just live, slowly, imperfectly, honestly. And when old habits return, when you catch yourself smiling to hide the ache, you don't scold yourself. You simply notice it and breathe, because pretending was once a way to survive. Now, honesty is how you live. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're becoming real. And that's the most beautiful thing you've ever been. The more you live this way, the lighter life feels. You stop walking on eggshells around your own emotions. You stop waiting for permission to rest, to cry, to feel. You no longer need to dress your pain in pretty words. You can just call it what it is: sadness, fear, exhaustion, and let it exist without shame. The honesty you once feared becomes your anchor. It keeps you steady when everything else feels uncertain. You start to realize that real peace isn't the absence of pain. It's the acceptance of it. It's knowing that you can hold sorrow and still smile, that you can feel lost and still be loved, that you can be tired and still be worthy of good things. This kind of truth doesn't make you softer in a weak way. It makes you soft in a strong way. Flexible, open, unafraid to bend without breaking. You don't chase perfection anymore. You don't chase love either. You just allow both to find you where you are, in your quiet, imperfect honesty. You've spent years trying to be okay, but maybe being okay was never the goal. Maybe the goal was learning to be real, to live without pretending, to breathe without performing, to exist without apology. And now, standing here, you can finally see how far you've come. Not because you've fixed everything, but because you've stopped hiding from yourself. You've learned that your softness is not something to fix. It's your strength, the proof that your heart still feels, still cares, still tries. You no longer confuse numbness with peace, or silence with strength. You've made peace with your own humanity. There will still be hard days. Days when you slip back into old patterns, when "I'm fine" feels easier than the truth. But even then, you'll know the difference now. You'll hear the lie in your voice and choose honesty instead. Because once you've tasted what it feels like to be real, you can never go back to pretending. And if someone asks how you're doing, maybe you'll smile softly and say, "I'm still learning, I'm still healing, but at least now it's real." That's what it means to stop pretending. Not to be perfect, not to be happy all the time, but to finally feel at home inside your own truth.